If you've ever wanted to make your own VR game, the new Nintendo Labo kits let you do just that. And Kevin, you and I just got a chance to experience it. Labo is, of course, Nintendo's sort of cardboard-based creation system. You can make what they call Toy-Cons, which are like various peripherals. So this is actually pack 4, and it's the VR pack.
This kit comes with 5 Toy-Cons?
I guess it's sort of technically 6 because there's the goggles that you make, but the goggles then plug into each different one.
Yeah, the goggles slot into all the other Toy-Cons, and that's how you play their corresponding minigames.
Yeah, it's literally a switch that you slide in front of these goggles, which then turn the Switch's screen into sort of a stereoscopic 3D kind of thing.
I was actually really impressed by that. I think anytime I see the Labo, I always wonder, how is this going to work?
One thing that actually stuck out to me too was that it did feel, I kind of hesitate to use the term one-to-one, but the Labo did feel very accurate to what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any really noticeable lag. It wasn't like totally uncalibrated from what we were trying to do. It worked.
Yeah, the head tracking is very accurate.
So let's talk about some of those experiences. And the first one we played was the Blaster.
The Blaster is essentially an on-rails light gun game. So it takes you automatically through this little city. Definitely doesn't seem like there's very much depth to it. It's definitely one of those typical Labo mini games where you play it for a couple of minutes and you think it's neat, but don't really come back to it. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
I feel like that's going to be the prevailing thought about a lot of these. But unfortunately, there's more than just the minigames that are included.
Yes.
Because in addition to the Blaster, there's the Elephant Toy-Con. I'm not really sure why they chose to style it after an elephant, because you're not an elephant in the game.
Yeah, I don't understand that one thematically at all. That one I think was probably my least favorite of them, just because it was essentially a 3D art tool. You're maneuvering the trunk of the elephant around, and you're using that to just kind of like draw objects in a 3D space. And there were a lot of tools. You could change colors, you could add effects to it and stuff. You could rotate the object in 3D. But I feel like if you're not very artistically inclined like I am, there's no real incentive to play that one.
Sure, and that was kind of like the first minigame you can do with that. Then there was sort of those like Rube Goldberg style puzzle machines that you can also play with that Toy-Con.
Each Toy-Con has like a secondary mini game. We didn't really get to try those though.
Yeah.
We only tried one of each.
Yeah, from what they pitched us though, it seems like the secondary minigames are where you're going to have more fun. Like the first one seems to introduce you to the mechanics of how this Toy-Con works. The second one really explores like having more fun with it, for lack of a better term. The Rube Goldberg style puzzles were much more complex, and you could actually build your own. And that's way more in depth than just, a drawing kit.
Yeah.
The next one we played probably had the least amount of depth, I would say, which was the Frog. The least amount of depth as far as gameplay, but it does have a really cool kind of extra 4D experience with it.
I think like sensory-wise, that one was probably the most memorable of the bunch, because that one was controlled with what a Toy-Con they called the wind pedal. It was a pedal that you'd lay down on the floor, and then when you'd press it with your foot, it would just kind of like cause this fan to flap up and blow air into your face. So you're pressing down the wind pedal to make this frog in the game leap upward. And as you do that, you feel the wind in your face. So it was very trippy to feel the wind as you're seeing the frog jump.
The final one we played of the Toy-Cons was the camera.
Yes.
That one was probably my favorite, I'd have to say. Your object is to look around and snap pictures of various animals. You literally twist like what would be a focus ring of a real camera. You snap the shoulder button of the Joy-Con that's inserted on the side to take your picture. And that felt really cool.
That one was like the only mini game that we got to play that actually tried to approach a more realistic visual style.
Yeah.
So it was very neat to look around the water and see all the different animals swimming around.
And in general, it all just kind of reminded me of Pokemon Snap. It made me want that even more. This is literally the perfect device for playing a new Pokemon Snap game.
It is perfectly suited for it.
Please, Nintendo, make that happen.
It would be a shame if that doesn't happen now.
After we were done with those Toy-Cons, we got to play in what they call the VR Plaza, which is paired with the Labo Garage, or the Toy-Con Garage rather, but it seems to be much more in depth than the initial Garage. You can literally make VR games of your own. You're not just programming the Joy-Con and Toy-Con functions, you're actually programming the stages and what the characters characters are doing on the screen. There are 64 minigames included in the Plaza, made by the Labo developers, any one of which you can literally just open up and then under the hood see the logic they programmed and make your own version of that game, or tweak what they made, or make something completely original.
We didn't actually get to tinker around with the underlying mechanics behind the games, but we got to look at a few of them, and it seems very surprisingly flexible to me. There was a lot of different kinds of games you could make. We got to try out this one little platformer.
We played like a Smash Brothers ripoff.
Yeah,
basically.
a very light version of Smash Bros. Where
Yeah.
It was just like a side-scrolling brawler. You'd have to try to knock each other off the stage.
Yeah, all of this stuff was made within the Toy-Con garage. Like, none of this is outside programming that the team did. This is all stuff that was made within the Toy-Con garage VR. So anything you see, you can replicate, and that left me very impressed. The ability to easily, I guess in quotes, but easily create VR games of your own and use pairing the Toy-Cons with that, I found very impressive.
Definitely.
And I'm really excited to see how people will pair that with the Toy-Con kits that already exist, right? Like there's the robot pack from the original one. I'd be very curious to see how people combine that.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
I feel like that's where I land on this, the same way I did with the first couple kits that they released, was what they have given you in terms of minigames you can play is fun for a time, but it's not super substantial. But the tools that they gave you to create your own games and to create your own Toy-Cons, that's really where Labo shines. And I think you can see that even more with this VR one.
They're definitely making it easier to jump into this one too, because if you want the entire set, it's $80, which is what the previous Labo kits have also cost. But this time around, they're also offering a starter set where it includes the goggles and the blaster for $40. And then if you like that and you'd like to purchase the remaining Toy-Cons, they sell those as separate expansions.
All of those drop on April 12th. Look for more Labo talk around GameSpot, and we will see you guys next time.